Hello YouTube fans, here again. I'm coming with my video nasties, why not this one? Last house on Dead End Street. No, not last house on the left. Last house on Dead End Street. This is one of the most maturious and I would say one of the most nastiest, but still an interesting film. And it's not for me to say you should not watch it, it's not to corrupt you and all this, but it does have a lot of interesting history. Ken Hopkins, I think is the star of the film, as well as directed the film, does have a lot of history. Because at the time, they did not want this film to go Last House on Dead End Street. Because, like I said from the beginning, it's not Last House. And at the time, Last House was too making it big, it was too raking, even though it was banned in a number of countries, including ours, the UK. And decided to use the brand name because at the time a lot of horror movies used that name. Last this, last that, the last late night train was a video nasty, the late everything. So they decided to use the logo, the last house on Dead End Street. Now at the time, the one movie that was done by John Hooper, but has been announced the video nasty. I was taken off the shelf, the warning about the number of which ones are going to be taken off, and then it was put back on the shelf. So it's one of them was Funhouse, which is the movie I'm on about, by John Hooper. Was it a video nasty? Was it not? And for people who are thinking what the fuck I'm on about, this got confused with the film I'm reviewing now, being The Last House on Dead End Street. So it definitely does have a lot of history, but it's definitely notorious and it's definitely nasty at the end of the film. It's a slow burn, but it's still an interesting one. Now, there was another film called Snuff, come out in 1976, again with a video nasty. And a lot of people thought that this girl got murdered for real in front of the camera, which is so laughable because if you've ever seen Snuff, which is funny enough, it's still banned in the UK, but if you've ever seen Snuff, it is laughable. The girl that gets murdered, you can see it's a fake bed. The bit where they cut a finger off, later on the finger suddenly magically appears on her hand again. The blood looks fake as fuck. The guy was pulling her intestines out can't even keep a straight fucking face. It's just laughable. It's a joke. The fact that they thought this was Snuff. So this was very notorious that people thought this was a Snuff, and it's not. It's not. So basically, it's about this guy who's a down and out. He wanted to be a director. I do this played by Anthony Hopkins, the one I just mentioned, and he's basically playing a guy who's down and out, right? And he's just come out of prison, and he finds this abandoned old stew lad. It's like an old Victorian sort of building and everything. And he teams up with these other people on the way. And it turned out when he was making these films, he got ripped off by his producers, his agents, and so on. And basically, he wants to get his revenge. That's what the film is about. He wants to get his revenge. So he teams up with these two women, this Di. You get the idea the Di fancies Di's about being sexy with Endo, and so on. And he teams up with them to get his bloody revenge. And done he indeed. So he gets the woman who's married to the director. He gets this other guy, he adopts them all, and basically makes a snuff film. That's why people thought this was maturous, that's why it's nasty, the idea of the word snuff. But he does, he gets a film camera, and he basically makes a snuff film. And it's very weird, it goes in a dreamlike universe. I mean, there's a lot of slow burn before all that. You get a bit where a woman's getting ripped, and in this bar, very laughable, with a bits of tarot here and there. But when it gets to the nasty bit, it fucking gets to the nasty bit. The movie was shot in 4K format, but it gives it that cheapy, that sleazy, seedy sort of feel to it. It really does give it a seedy feel. So they adopt them, and there's a bit where he batters the diet. I don't lie, they do adopt another woman, and all it has something to do with it. So it's like I said, it's seedy, it's nasty, and it has that deteriorating feel to it. So they adopt the woman, and there's a bit where they're wearing a mask. Remember when I remember the film, which I think is a piece of shit, being Sardos. The funny thing is, he has a Sardos mask. But I do love the bit, the brand, this poor woman, they get thick knife. He walks up to her, he really weird monologue. It's all the way through the film. And he's thinking, just slits a fucking throat right in front of the stream. Then it's halfway with them being tied up, scared shitless as what's going to happen. Then they get the dye, and you literally batters this dye, they cut him up, you hear cheapy music all the way through. The dye beats him up, he says, I'm making this fucking film, not you, I'm making this fucking film. And he literally batters this dye to death, who's the husband of the wife. The one death has to be one of the most maturest. It has to be what I would say would have made it a nasty film. You will never get it out of your mind when you see what they do to this woman. What they do is they get her. She's tied up. She's scared. She says, "What's going to happen to us?" Then the bartender says, "Now it's your turn." They tie her up. He gets a saw, and he licks the shorts her legs off, right to the knees. And it's anyone who's steamies, anyone that doesn't like too much blood, anyone that passes out, anyone with a fake heart. Word of warning, it is graphic. They literally saw her legs off. Before they saw her legs off, they cut all her face with a knife. They literally cut all her face up. She's steaming in adding her. She passes out. They put some form or something to wake her up. They cut both her legs off. Remember right, they cut half her arm off as well. Then if that doesn't get nasty enough, he gets a pair of scissors and pulls her insides out. Now there's a bit I noticed about that scene is when they put it insides out, it does look like a shitty fucking video form. Very deteriorated, really shitty quality. The sound frothy there. And that's because it was cut down. So the only way to get it now when it's sat, they got some old VHS, probably the days of the video nasty, spiced it in, and that's the only way you get to see that in its sat. But it's nasty, it's horrible. You would not get out your head the minute you see it. It's like I say, they cut this woman's face up. She's steaming in agony. They saw her legs off. You get the saw sound effects, blood stirring out. You just don't get it out your head. It is a hard scene to watch. I've got to admit, that was nasty. Then they got the one guy, they're mutilating him. Woman takes the top off, not to get excited. They cut his lip and he runs off. You think he's going to get away, but they outsmart him. They get electric jail, which is funny enough. This was before the jail would kill her. And you get that. And I saw it. It looked like they were killing a hole in his eye. It's graphic. You do see it. The drill a hole in his eye. He's dead. They walk off. You get a monologue saying that they all got defected a couple of months after, and they're all surfing time. Which the actors got pissed with that because they wanted to get justice and all this, and they felt that didn't do any favours. And you get this monologue to that they all got defected and all this. And I've heard rumours that the one that did the monologue had passed away, and they was happy about it, which didn't really poor taste, but they was pissed because they didn't want that monologue flung in. They're all surfing time now in a better eternity or something like that. And that's the end of the last house on Dead End Street. It's definitely a nasty film. The bit, like I say, where they kill that poor woman, it's definitely vicious. Some of the death scenes are dark vicious. I like the fact it's shot in a 4K format, the 4K. It gives it that old school sort of feel. I like the fact that they made the film deteriorated. It's like a teen nightmare. It's hard to explain. It's not like a nightmare feel of the film. It really is a nightmare look of the film. But I like that. I think it's just that old school sort of feel. That being The Last House on Dead End Street. Would I watch it again? I respect it, but it's an hard film to watch when you get to a really gruesome death scene. So not always never a blood and gore film. I'd give it an average rating, but I respect for what it did. It did suck audience for that era, and it definitely did suck an audience for that era. It's very hard to get in this concept, but it's definitely a Minora's one, and you can definitely see why in that era it was considered a video nasty. It doesn't hold back nearly at the end. It's a slow burn, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. It's definitely a slow burn, but it's not one I'd say ban, don't show it to people, blah, blah, blah. Just in fear that people get the same idea. It's not for me to judge, but into them. That's The Last House on Dead End Street. I'll talk about more video nasties. I'll talk about more things on the way, but into them. be smart, be safe, and I'll see you later.